Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to our ever amazing viewers. Good morning to our ever amazing StandOut family. You're welcome to another interesting, amazing, and insightful episode of StandOut with Mr. Patrick Uduma. You know that, of course, we convene on this platform every first Saturday of the month, and this is another first Saturday. A lot of people joining us for the first time, I wonder what StandOut is all about. Of course, it's a global organization that inspires, educates, and exposes the minds of young people through experiential teaching, knowledge sharing, and mentorship. And the mentorship would not be functional without the mentor, Patrick Uduma. It's always a privilege to have Mr. Patrick Uduma in our midst. And today, like every other day, he's right here. So with one round of applause, wherever you are, let's make welcome the mentor, Patrick Uduma.
Good morning, my fellow stand-up members. Thank you, the whole world, as we connect together to strengthen and to learn and to share our experience. Also, Canon, you look brilliant as always. You need to tell me your secret so that I can also be part of these movement you're doing. I hope you are not sharing the PDP money in the States.
Oh, well, of course, the secret is the mentor himself. When he leads and he mentors us, we follow.
And how have we survived the COVID-19 pandemic? I'm excited that we are all alive and we are seeing coming back and stronger like never before.
Exactly. And to a large extent, I believe that the word of the year has played a major role in that because, like, the word of the day and the word of the week is meant to be incorporated into our regular usage, into our regular vocabulary. I trust and believe, like you've taught, that the word of the year is meant to be incorporated into our lives, is meant to flow through our bloodstreams. And since the word of the year is rulership, we are meant to rule in every phase, in every sphere, in every area of our life. So to a large extent, I trust and believe that the word of the year has influenced our transitioning through these trying times. What do you think about that, Mr. Patrick?
Yeah, rulership was for me was a divine concept, was divinely ordained into our spirit as if God has already gone before us as always to give us a word to reframe our mind. And that's why he said he was going to give us power, power to tread places and experiences with a commitment of principles and standard in the formation of structures that outclass any situation with a controlling presence. I wish I have time to deal with that because see, when you are in the presence, you outclass sickness. Because the presence symbolizes his power. That is the power of the divine. And that's why we have rulership to rule over COVID-19 and any other sickness. Of course, it gives us the wealth because we are graced to build possibilities through focused value optimization and organized detailed plan to invent solution. So we invented solution because don't forget that we did 120 days prayer, and that was ruling our spiritual realm to control certain events, and that's why we are surviving here. And that lead us to wisdom because we are fearless people. We receive instruction and unveil masteries with an intent of application, administration, and managing resources with a difference. So anywhere we are, we make a difference because we have the wisdom, to be fearless, and that gives us the strength that we're looking at to become to remain uncompromised and have the robustness of mind to continuously function in great character. Because hey, character is your destiny. And once you maintain a great character, trust me, you can gain trust, you can gain, favor, to function in great character and mental soundness. Because once you're sick mentally, your whole life is messed up as well too, with a moral attitude to effectively deploy our skill in whatever situation we find, including the COVID-19.
to a large extent, I can relate with that because we've applied this through these trying times, and here we are, strong, like never before. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick.
And this also applied. This also applied, even though the government decided to remove the subsidy. All right, when I heard it, and people always want to say, "Oh, we are finished." We're not finished, because like today, we are going to find out that there are limitless possibility in us to advance any challenge that may come. So irrespective of what they throw at us, we will have the mental capacity to rule every overt situation.
Exactly, Mr. Patrick. Like the saying goes, when a lemon is thrown at you, make a lemonade. Thank you very much always for allowing us to fetch from your wealth of knowledge, for allowing us to learn from your experiences, and for your relentless mentorship. Thank you very much. So if you're just joining us, this is StandOut with Patrick Uduma. The mentor himself is right here to discuss another interesting, thrilling, and insightful topic today. So if you're watching, make sure you grab a pen and book, because these kind of classes, this kind of discussions, this kind of lectures are exactly what great leaders go and pay so much for. But right here, you're getting it for free. So Mr. Patrick, today you've captioned your discussion, establishment. And it has aroused curiosity in me. Establishment from what perspective exactly? Establishment in our lives, in our businesses, in our family. How exactly? What exactly? Please tell us why you came up with that topic, establishment.
You can't rule. You can't rule without having been established. You can't rule without having a domain. You can't rule without having a portion. You can't rule without having a society. You can't rule without having yourself. And so establishment and rulership goes hand in hand. So you cannot say, "Oh, I'm ruling," without a place to rule. You have to have a domain. You have to have a space. You have to have people. You have to have a family. You have to have all that. And now we started a series. We talk about patterns. How you think. We ask, go back to the root. What are the patterns of your life? And patterns create connection. So now we have got into patterns, established certain patterns that governs us, habits, characters, and all that. We talked about connection. We cannot rule without connecting with our people, without connecting our environment, without connecting with our cars, without connecting our equipment. So without connection, it gives us into a place of establishment. So we want to talk about establishment, and this will give us an insight of ourselves, of what the possibilities, of our potentials, of who we are really. And once we have these organized thoughts, and we can work in this consciousness, and once we can work in this consciousness, it gives us a place of establishment, it gives us a place of our ownership, it gives us a place of space. And that's why we want to really take time to deal with this establishment, because you're not less than you think that you are. And by the time we finish this exposition and the opinion, I'm sure a lot of us who are feeling inferior, who people judge, who has been conditioned useless, who has been rejected in one way or the other, who is functioning in a low capacity. By the time you get in all this formation, you'll be established as a person. Number one, you're going to be established in your space of influence. You're going to establish in your work, in your job, and in our society, because we want to rule, and want to make impact, and want to influence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. While explaining establishment, you said something about the ideal self, about ourselves. How does that correlate? How does that connect with establishment? The ideal self, myself as an ideal man. Is there a certain way I'm supposed to be programmed? Is there a certain way I'm supposed to be established? Please tell us.
Let me say, let me do a definition of what establishment is according to the dictionary. He said it's an arranged order, or a system. If you talk about if you've been in StandOut for a while, we'll talk about order and system. And we say that power or relevance is found in a system or in an orderly fashion. Don't forget, when we talk about rules, rules sustain life. Now, it's a group of people holding most of power and influence in the society. It's a group of people, not necessarily the government, holding power and influence. It is to be in a successful position over a long period. To be in a successful position over a long period. People who have power and influence in running society, organization, and establishment. So I want to be able to establish mind that everywhere we are part and parcel of the people who make things happen. I was sharing an idea with one of the StandOut member, a doctor, and we're talking about it, how he's a rallying point because of the value he brings into his organization. Everybody now rotates around him because of his value disposition. And so it's a reference point. And he works, his words count, his ideas count, everything around him. Why? That's a place of authority. That means he's successful. You know. And now I want to go a little bit deeper in the spiritual. And I'm going to get some insights just to bring in this whole thing. A guy was writing, the writer of Samuel, chapter 7, chapter 2, 7 verse 10 said, I will appoint a place for my people. When you talk about your people, put your name, you need to declare that you have a place in the earth realm. You are an authorized personality with no minus in your life. He said, I will appoint my people Israel. You put yourself, StandOut people, you put your name, Uduma, and will plant them that they may live there on their own place and not be disturbed again, nor by the wicked, or not the wicked will afflict them anymore like as it was in the former days. I don't know, whatever that have afflicted you or have made you minus or made you look like you're not confident of yourself. God said, I'm about to plant you in a place. Now, the gentleman Jeremiah said, see. So I want people to see. I have appointed you this day over nations and over kingdoms to pluck and to break down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and plant. So we're going to rebuild ourselves, our self-image, our self-worth, who we are. That's the whole idea, so that we can be concretely, established in ourselves. Now, in Amos says something. I will also plant them on their land, and they will not be rooted out from the land, which I have given them, says the Lord. So it means God is bringing us to our own place, whether to a job, whether to a family, whether to a political space, whatever it is, God is going to put all of us one place. And when you establish, He gives you the firm mind. He said, after you have suffered a little while, God of all grace, who calls you to share His eternal glory in union with Christ, will Himself perfect you and will give you firmness. God is about to give us firmness of mind, strength of mind, and a sure foundation upon which our future will rest. Very, very insightful, because as the heart, so is life. The within produces the without. The within produces the without. Your mental condition within your heart influences the manifestation of your desired or designed and aspired life. I'm going to say that again. Your mental condition within your heart influences the manifestation of your desired or designed and aspired life. Most times people are living an automated life. Most times people are living a cloned life. Most times people are living the life of their parents. Most times people are living the life of their spouse. Most times people are living the life of their boss. Most times people are living the life of society, not their designed or desired or aspired life. So what we want to do is to shift our mental concept of who we are, to redefine the standard of ourselves so that we can embrace the totality of who we are. Now, to answer your question, what is the ideal self? I'm going to answer the ideal self from understanding what is called your self concept. Your self concept is referred as the construction. So self is built, intentionally built. It's not handed over to you. If it's handed over to you, you respond to automatic responses. You are an automated, like a robot, a machine, who has no intelligence of your own, who has no independent will, who has no independent choice. We want to come and reframe our mind where we are in charge of ourselves. So that's why we need to reconstruct who we are. We need to reconstruct our self-identity. We need to reconstruct our self-perspective of ourselves. Once we have understanding of who we are, deliberately creating ourselves or recreating is what we call reparenting yourself, to accept yourself. Then that structure is a structure. There's what the self-identity is a perspective of you. Now, there's what they call the self-image. Self-image is how you see yourself. It's important to be able to know how you see yourself. 3 years ago, a lot of things have changed. The moment I start seeing myself as a builder, a lot have changed significantly. I build in 4 ways: in quality, in productivity, in perfection, and in possibilities. So once I am in that frame of mind building, it means nothing dies in my hand. It means I have the capacity to build a business. It means I have capacity to build people. It means I have capacity to build my environment. So there's what I now call the self-esteem. Self-esteem is how much you value yourself. How much do you value yourself? Assuming you place yourself in the market, how much can you cost? Sometimes sit back, because your net worth is as a result of how much you value yourself. Men cannot value you. System must not value you. You have to put yourself in self-valuation. What do I want in the market? And when you begin to think like this, that means you're forming your own image. You're forming your confidence. You're forming the reality. You're becoming the real person, an authentic person. Now, what is the ideal self? Ideal self is how you wish you could be. Ideal self is how you wish you could be. And the problem of wish is the fact that without taking it into a higher dimension, then it's a wish. And a lot of people want to wish to be a certain personality. So that ideal person is supposed to drive us and empower us with the responsibility. Don't forget, we're saying that is a construction. You are you are a site. You are a field. You are an empty place. You need to decide to construct, to reconstruct, to reparent yourself. Not the one that your parents constructed you, not the one society constructed you, not the one school constructed you, not the one university constructed you, not the one church constructed you, not the one your experiences constructed you. But this one now is an intentional reconstruction of yourself, because you have already had a picture of an ideal person. Also, let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
Some years back, I saw 2 personalities of myself.
Okay.
One was a certain level and one was looking for a certain level. When I saw the two images, I said, this is the one I like to look like. The way they dressed. The day I saw Osibanjo, the very honorable vice president, dressed in a certain way, it reconnected me instantly of that personality. Why? I have seen it. That is a wish. But there's a responsibility to construct my personality by my own self. People do not understand that they have the responsibility to construct who they want to be, not the one that your father wants you to be or your parents want you to be. So the ownership is to understand we are filled at any stage in our life, whether we are 10, whether we are 20, whether we are 30, whether we are 40, whether we are 50. If you have been living in a concept that was cloned to you by your parents, by your brother, by people who influences you, it is your duty, no matter at what age, to reconstruct your ideal person into being. And that's the beginning of strong establishment. You see a house, right, that you like, you create an image. It remains an image until you buy a land, you clear the land, you take the ownership, put the blocks, put everything, and bring the structure. And once that structure is done, it is established place for you. It's a land, it's your property. So can you say?
Sorry to cut you, Mr. Patrick. There was a book I was reading, and I came across a phrase that said, "Teach a child to read and write, and let him go into the world and make his decisions." But you see, in this time and age, our parents try to guide us through the religion to practice, through the habits and behaviors to practice, through even the career to choose. Will you say that is correct when it comes to self-discovery, or it shouldn't be so? We should just teach a child to read and write, and then he decides the career path, his religion, his relationship with people, sexual orientation, and all of that.
Although we are not grandchildren to God, whether you are 2 years or 3 years, there's a divine order that instructs you on a daily basis. And we should understand that we have independent will to make our independent choice, because we are responsible for our choice, for our words, for whatever we do, we'll give account. But we do not develop at the same level because of our experience and age and exposures and travels and all kinds of things association. And now you can make sure that what you are handing over them is something that is not forced, but something that is empowering. That's why I say train a child in a way he should go. When he grows up, he will not depart from it. Why? He will still have a reference point to make an informed decision. The decision is his or hers. So you give them option, valuable option. That is why children will first of all take your action rather than your word. You're telling them to do like this, but you're not doing the same thing. They will follow you to do what you're doing, because the doing part is the most retentful, a method of retention, because when I see you do that, I can do assimilate it. But when you talk, it is how I interpret that word. That's how I'm going to act. So that's the danger of parenting, when you are parenting something differently and you are doing something differently. And you're asking, how come these guys are adopting into a certain way of life? Watch what you are doing, not what you are saying.
I see.
Because see, when I have amplified shortcut. When I speak, I need an internal memory to decode my saying in order to apply.
Okay, so in self-discovery, should the focus be in our values, in our purpose, or in our career? What exactly? Because I have a friend who has had values, because for the fact that you're living and you can decide what to do and not what to do, what to accept and what to reject, to a large extent, you already have values. But she said she just discovered her purpose recently as to the career path to take. That all through she thinks she's just been existing, but now she's ready to live her life because and she's about 31. So in self-discovery, will the focus be on values or purpose or the career path to take?
Purpose drives your entire life because purpose gives you meaning. Purpose gives you meaning, and meaning will culture your character. You see, the very moment I became a mentor, an official mentor, and a builder, it redefines my values. For instance, now I'm not talking because I'm talking from a point of informed man or established man. I'm talking from a point of my purpose. So now I expresses my life in the purpose that I'm called to do. I have finished radio, right? And I'm here. After that, I have other things. Meanwhile, my career, really my career in my secular world or in my business world supports my purpose. So I earn money to support my purpose. So what I'm doing give me more meaning when I see somebody mindset change, when I see somebody who is down and lift up, when I can open your eyes of understanding and give you option so that you can have an informed decision. That's my purpose. It's giving me meaning. I've never been known like I'm known today because I stepped into purpose. I've never been known like I'm known today because I stepped into my purpose. Yes, I had the career moving well. I have my business doing very well. And I have all those other things doing very well. But once I step into my purpose, it brings me meaning because now that brings me influence, that brings me impartation. You see, it connected to me because I have seen a pattern. Like purpose is like a pattern. Now, connection is how I deliver, is the content that I carry. And that deliverance without establishment cannot give me my firm personality. So I think that purpose drive your values. You discover now I can't use certain language because I understand I cannot build and destroy. So you see, it's driving my values in order to represent or in order to reinforce my belief in my purpose. And that is why what I call the expression of you, living the life you love, living the life you love, understanding that you are not the full, you are the full expression of the divine. You are the full expression of the divine. And you have to unconditionally accept yourself, who you are now, where you are right now, and the present condition that you are currently in, with no judgment of yourself, with no disapproval of yourself, with no undervaluing of yourself. Never look at the conditions never look at the condition, but draw yourself from the reflection of that which your purpose has brought you. Now, you realize that now, in my career, maybe some people will think that this guy is looking for fame. I'm not looking for fame. People will say to them, what's he doing? He's not looking for mentorship. They've called me all sorts of names. Well, hey, I really don't care what they call me. I care about the fact that I have been called and I know to mentor people. So whatever criticism that comes, I will not judge myself, I will not disprove myself, and I will not undervalue myself. You are your self-image cannot be, you cannot short circuit your life. There's no shortage, there's no lack in God. So becoming more of your divine self, knowing that life is not material. Life is not material. That's why it makes a reference that says, if you faint in the days of adversity, in the days of lack, in the days of shortage, in the days of COVID-19, it means you have lost yourself, because COVID-19 is not supposed to change you. It was supposed to reinforces who you are, because you are a divine being that has been placed in this earth to dominate, to unleash your potential, to unleash your purpose, so that you can find meaning. So even in COVID-19, you find an expression of you in that. Let me explain this. I was given a task recently to wash plates, and when I saw the plates, it was like a task. It was stressful. But I remember that I'm a builder, and that I dwell in goodness, that I'm kind. So I was kind to the plate, because now my sympathy connected me to the plate, because they were used and dumped there. So once I activated my purpose, I expressed myself on those plates and the pot, rather than the plate expressing themselves on me. This is why purpose, living, and establishment give you insight of dominion to rule, rather than they rule over you. And I did it joyfully, and I finished. I found myself in that purpose, rather than the place finding myself. And that is why in your career, when you walk as an established man in your purpose and in your divine order, you don't allow the job to stress you. You don't allow the marriage to stress you. You don't allow your engagement to stress you. You express yourself. That is rulership. That is wisdom. That is power. That is strength. You see how our word of the year is connected to our daily living and daily. You become that God nature. Because in Psalm 82 verse 6 says, ye are the sons of the Most High God. Ye are the deputy of God. And what are the attributes of God? God is established personality. That's why I say, after you have suffered a while, he will comfort you, he will strengthen you, and he will establish you, because you have come into consciousness of the constructed you, of the designed you, that you have decided to design, not in the material form, but in the divine order, so that you can have dominion over material things, instead of material things having dominion over you. That's why what we call live in awareness. You have to now come into enlightenment of who you are. That's why the guy said, that word have I hid in my heart, that I might function in the light of your word. Because now I have created myself in the world, in the ideal person. So now there's a responsibility of me to find expression of myself in my purpose. And so everywhere I go, I am not driven, I drive the process. The process cannot drive me, I drive the process. The job cannot drive me, I drive the job. The marriage cannot drive me, I drive the marriage. The childbearing, the childbearing and all that cannot drive me, and I drive it. And that's what releases you with stress. Stress is because we're not living the life we love. When you start living the life you love, you are driving yourself, not being driven. And that's where awareness and awakening your soul into life of beauty, into life of tenderness, into life of kindness. You become more gentle to life, to Israel, because you're finding a connection, because you've seen your pattern. You are finding connection to people. And so awareness, your strength does not emerge from physical ability, but you have an indomitable will. Your internal outlook, your landscape of yourself will hold your reality. Your internal outlook and the landscape you have formed will hold your reality. And there are three things that will happen. You begin to live in an expansive world, because now it's all embracing capacity and a comprehensive mindfulness of who you are. You will not lose one day of who you are. You walk into the bank, the security man cannot upset you because you're mindful of. You live an unlimited power. What does that mean? You know that, you see, inside of us, we didn't know that there's a solution to fly, to create aeroplane. If you watch Discovery Channel, you see the limitless potential that are within us. So you're not focusing on the problem, you are focusing on the fact that you have a limited access to great and vast knowledge of who you are. It will shock you when you leave Nigeria and move to an organized state where your potential are supported. You'll be asking yourself, now this person self, have you got into that point? Say, I didn't even know that I had this power. That is awareness. That's bringing to consciousness. That's mindfulness. So we have unlimited power and authority. And it's important that we understand this very well. What's the third one? There's what they call the non-linear personality. What is this one? Straightforward. When you live in this truth, my God, you'll become an established personality. Is this truth that they're denying us to understand? That's why even in Nigeria, we look as if we are second citizen to the government. No, we are not. Hey, you see this government, if we want to bring it down today, we can't bring it down. And that's why they should respect us, because we have individual potential that will outsmart that small fraction of the cabal or whatever it is. And government should not understand that. And that's why they don't want to realize the potential we have. Let me remind you, in the 80s and in the 70s, who were the people ruling this nation? They were students. Go and check radical thing change that happened. It started from student union. What happened was they introduced corruption and make us less value. When you don't understand yourself, you are corrupted in your mind, and your full potential, the limitless of your life, begin to drop. But when you come into awareness with responsibility to practice, which is where I'm going to the second one, the mastery of self. Self-mastery. Self-mastery is very important in our day, because this is a generation of shortcuts and fast life. Shortcut with, have you noticed that men are dying in their 40s now? Fast life. No mastery of ourselves. We are more dominated by anxiety and stress than happiness. We are more dominated by stress and anxiety than living happily. And that is why you find out in the city, we are dying faster than in the villages. Because the village men have consistently lived a life of contentment and mastery. Mastery is simple. It's a consistency of doing. It is a practice of you. I told one of the mentees yesterday that fame do not come by association. Fame do not come by position. Fame will not come by environment. Fame and honor come by practicing you in service. Fame comes by practicing you in service. It is you that connects you to fame and honor. If you don't express yourself in service, you can't connect to honor. You can't connect to reward. And I said, this person, that's okay. I bet you are looking for fame. Let's say we have 6 months to practice you. Now you find yourself, maybe you're a kind person, maybe you're innovative. Now let us take a part of you and express in people, which is connection. Let's take 20,000 every month and go and feed them in 6 months. And let us watch in 6 months if your name will not go everywhere.
Very true.
The problem, we are looking for fame that is handed over to us, not the one we created in service. So now, how you know you're established is taking a good part of you that you have now noticed. You have come into consciousness, you have come into awareness, you have interrupted your mind by the light of a knowledge, by the light of an exposition of your mind. Now you take the same light and press it onto a darkness, into a need, into a problem, into a vacuum. When you fit into that vacuum, you realize that you have owned yourself. Let me give you an instance. Marriages are collapsing because people are not expressing themselves in relationship. They are more concerned about what they collect. And this, when you collect, you are what? A slave. But when you deposit, why is it that in Europe and in the Western world, if you have your girlfriend walk into a restaurant, as you're going to the restaurant, your girlfriend will come with her card. She will buy a drink, she will pay for it. You will buy, you pay. There's an understanding, it's a relationship. We have divine attributes to connect with one another. What is the dependency theory is making us more slavery than we are more contributing. So when you begin to understand yourself and begin to practice yourself in a space, in a need, in a vacuum, then you are calling out your true personality. You cannot say that you're kind and you don't express kindness. You cannot say that you're intelligent, you can't create a solution. You cannot say you are compassionate without being helpful to another person. You cannot say you are disciplined when a little criticism trigger you off. So when you begin to practice yourself in vacuum, in need, you begin to find expression. One of the things I'm learning everywhere I go, I like to express myself. I like to drop something. I love to drop a part of my life, whether it is kind, whether it's a kind word, whether it's compassion. Because hey, there are no quick fix. That's why in true mastery is what we call hone yourself. Hone, H-O-N, hone your skill.
Okay,
What is hone
there's
your
something
skill?
I've been wanting to ask Mr. Patrick. And,
Yeah, please ask.
sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you there. Is it possible? Is there a possibility of reconstructing or rediscovering ourselves? Let's take, for instance, you've identified your purpose, your mission, your vision, your values, and then somewhere down the line, somewhere in the future, you develop a different passion. Let's take, for instance, Kentucky, the founder of KFC, who established KFC at about 70,
Yes.
when a lot of people are retiring. Yes. He found a different purpose. Later down the journey of life. Is there a possibility of rediscovering and finding and refining ourselves again and again and again? Before you respond to that, to our viewers out there, it still stands out with Patrick Uduma. It's a rare privilege to have him on a session like this where he unravels wisdom and knowledge and understanding to we young people. So he also flows at a very fast frequency. So in case you don't understand a certain thing, do well to drop your questions. And he's right here to take your questions. Thank you very much, and over to you, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you. Otto, let me tell you, most of the sickness that hit us, they are agents of rediscovering. Have you ever seen somebody who was really nice, doing very well, suddenly was going somewhere, a really nice place, just to have nights out and have an accident and kill somebody and was thrown into jail? And in that jail, there was a silent moment to connect to his divine and realize that all these years, though he has done well career-wise, marriage-wise, everything, but there was something definitely, and he has a turn around. In 2013, I was going to have identity crisis because I wouldn't know where to belong. I've been a church boy. I've been very religious. I've been over there. I was also trying to be famous in business. I didn't know how to manage that. You're following every party. You're following everybody. I was kidnapped. My transformation to where I am today was as a result of that encounter. I rediscovered myself. In 3 years, most of the internal struggles that I've had expressing myself has changed dramatically because I have keyed into my purpose in life. So most times when we hit certain patches, it is not bad luck. It's reawakening. It is an agent of change, of reflection. Because most times our pleasure life do not give us the opportunity to do a deeper reflection. And sometimes there has to be some interruption to have a discovery. Great men has emerged out of the debris of misery. Great men has emerged out of the, out of debris. Oh, I got my deliverance the moment that thing happened. Some people have lost their job, and it was at that point they realized that they have a potential to become managing director. I was doing well in my former job. I was flying all over the world. I mean, I was doing well. I got live moving, but yet I had to hit a patch that transformed me into a new person, where I have institutions of companies, employed people now who work for me. But trust me, I never wanted to be number one. I never want to be like in the place of authority. I wanted to always remain like number two, and there was nothing wrong with that as long as I'm concerned. But that transformation, that encounter brought a transformation, a reflection. And today, hey, I am here and I'm enjoying this new space. And there is no time lag to it. It is not how long you live that matters. It is how you live and expresses your divine person in the earth realm that matters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. You also made mention of the positional power. After discovering yourself, accepting yourself, and mastering yourself, you talked about now being able to leverage on that self you've identified and you've mastered. Tell us about it, the positional power. How exactly does that happen?
Now you discover your pattern, and your pattern is useless if there's no connection. And now that you have this mastery of yourself, you've come into the place. Position shouldn't influence you. You are supposed to influence position in order to express yourself. You don't need status to be you. You need you to be in status. Positional power is a capacity to influence others based on their acceptance. You see, acceptance is the connection that influencers occupy in a formal position in any group that gave him the right to make decisions and demand compliance. Listen, we wrap it up most of. Let me give you a story. I was working for an organization, and I have my colleague, and this my colleague like power. There are people who like power, and they can't exercise that power except they are in a certain authority or position, or they acquire certain status. in order to influence people to comply to them, which is typical of most African people. I went to my boss and I told my boss, I don't need this position to function. All I need is a seat to function, because I understand myself. I understand my honor is reflected in service and creating solution to need. And it's becoming me in a situation that matters than situation becoming me. It's in rulership. So I told my boss, promote her, set her up. My boss was looking at me saying, are you from this planet? I said, yes. Because there are people who require position to influence their self. Some of us, by the grace of God, do not require position to influence. And that is why I told you this. People get into streets or get into an environment. They are saying, government has not done. Who is a government? I got into my street and I designed the street to reflect my personality. With well-structured flowers, with well-structured garbage dump here and there, with an employment to make sure the street sweep. Who is the government there? I'm the government there. I'm the one who influences. So I don't need to be the local government to become influential in my city. I don't need to have a political appointment to affect my community. I don't need money, really, entire money, to become significant. All I need is understanding my reconstructed self, my purpose, expressing them in my community, in my environment, to become influential. That's what I talk about, positional power. So you don't need to be established in certain, listen, you know that I got a story about a particular gentleman in Chevron. He was the security man. And this security man was in there, employed. So people came in as IT or youth service guys. They employed them. They keep moving. And I was wondering, my God, what's going on here? I'm old. How can these young people, I've seen them, they have not become manager? The guy found himself and became very relevant in the security operation with his experience. From security man, he was made top rank. He developed himself. He came into awareness and he didn't use the position, but he began to use himself in the position, and he was recognized. And this is the limitation my generation are looking for. We're looking for positional knowledge to become ruler, to rule. No, you don't need it in your house. Find a need, express yourself. That's what they call unconditional support system. Unconditional support system is where you do not require a position to express your divine purpose, to have meaning to your life. That is why you talk about agreeableness. When you agree with yourself, it's very easy for you to function in marriage. It's very easy for you to function in any way you find, because you are open to experience without judgment. People who require position, judge, they are living in judgment. They are not fully experiencing yourself. People will now say me, oh, how can I be heard? Let me tell you. Think about it. In the midst of a group of people, you decide to come to work early enough. You are the first to come in. When they want to make a reference, who do they make reference?
You, of course.
What are you? You are a leader. You are a leader. You are a standard. And when a reference is made to you, you have lived your life in there. Your reference will be made to you. That's why we don't need position to express ourselves. We just need to recognize ourselves so that we can express ourselves. That's actually where we have the when we say we're doing well in life, because we're a believer of goodness. Position will not be determined, will be determined. Your position will be determined by the service. Have you not seen managing director who is useless? Go back, I'm going to make it clear to you. Where is Diamond Bank today?
It's gone. It's made.
It's gone.
Some other bank, yes.
You have position, but you didn't have service. We need to talk about it. They gave you position, but you didn't have service. And people who have service collected the position from you. So people are looking for position rather than to look for service because we are not established. When you come into established form, to serve is a natural phenomenon to you. And that's where you express yourself, and you do not need position to become everything God has created it to be. I will give opportunity for questions.
Thank you very much.
I'm particularly excited. I wish I know some of these in my years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick, the mentor.
Ladies
and gentlemen out there, I think at this point you should give Patrick Uduma a warm, resounding round of applause. If you don't live with anything today, like me, the most important thing I've left with today is position, service over position. Service over position. Service over position. Thank you very much. So quickly, we'll take a question or two. For the privileged ones who are quick to drop their questions, Mr. Patrick Uduma right here would respond to them. A question or two. A question or two. And in the absence of a question, we will trust and believe that we've all understood all that was taught in today's session. Mr. Patrick, is that right?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm saying here, these are things that people pay strongly, to have access to such information. And I'm willing because, hey, I'm coming from a disadvantaged position. And a lot of people come to me, ask me for favor, ask me for this, who want to be like me. I was not landed here. I was not landed here by bet. I was not landed here by political appointment. I was not landed here or supported by over there. So what I'm teaching from a disadvantaged point. Well, hey, I'm good. And so don't just look at me and admire me, my position, admire my office, admire my car. Admire my secret. And if you admire my secret, which is what mentorship is all about, so you are also going to enjoy what I'm enjoying. And I keep telling that I was raised in the mud house. I was raised, my bed was mud. My pillow was mud. I'm not ashamed to say this because when we don't say this, it looks like as if we're dropped from heaven. The guy is saying, is purpose something one can know once, or is there an evolving process where you know more in your journey? I want to say that we may have our ideal self, but we're not giving the map to that ideal self. What happened? We're giving hints and clue, hints and clue, hints and clue. What connected to this hint and clue is your natural ability. Let me say this. When you force life, you spend more energy, you're burnt out. When you empowered life, it flows naturally. So with purpose, which is actually service, discovering yourself and applying yourself in the world, or finding yourself in the world. Maybe, for instance, I didn't know, I get to discover myself at my late 30s. So it means that if I have known what I'm knowing, I would have started some years back. And that's why mentorship are good. So it's all evolving. And I realized that from childhood, I've been categorically in building in small patterns. And now when I connected these patterns gradually, and I find it's effortless in doing what I'm doing now and spending so much money, getting nothing, literally. The only thing I'm going to get is when I see your talk and I see Freedom Man and I see all the viewers get better, live their life in the world and find themselves in the world. And that's how you begin to express yourself in the world. So it could graduate. I don't know what next 5 years will be for me. Maybe what I'm doing, I'll be called into another higher calling. It may change the dynamics, but finding yourself where you are now and expressing yourself will connect you to another you. Another person said, how do you identify your purpose?
I think you discussed that earlier on in
Yeah,
self-discovery.
we discovered that earlier on. But let me put light on it. Purpose is not like as if it's a divine thing. People want to hear maybe a voice from heaven to say this, or maybe there's over there. What is purpose? Purpose could just be what you dislike, and you know you have the capacity to fix it.
To fix it, yeah.
People get angry about government. That means you're calling to government because you can produce points that can be relevant. Maybe all that you hate children to be abused. So maybe you're an advocate. These are some of the ways that you check what you love, what you hate, and what you know you have the capacity to change. What you complain more about is what you have the capacity, because for you to complain about it, it means you have a solution. And so this is how the ways we discover our purpose. There are no clear cuts to finding purpose. Purpose can be found in sickness. Purpose can be found in the destructive marriage. So I say, in what practical step can I discover myself?
The same question, different lines.
Yeah, the same question, different line. What do you hate about yourself? What you hate about yourself sometimes become the agitator. What you love about yourself. If you don't know how to discover yourself, let me give you an insight. There's a guy called Elisha. Elisha was doing business in another field. Now he could have ended up in another firm. But you know what Elisha did? He discovered a man that he was going to serve. And it was in service that he got a double portion and become more famous. Where you work, people are working somewhere. They do not even know that why they got that job was so that they can activate their inner desire. But they complain about the job every day, complain about the job. Meanwhile, you are not finding yourself, and you will leave. They will give you wristwatch, long service here, and you couldn't define yourself till you die. And that's why I say, if you are not faithful in that which is another man, how will God give you your own? You see, where connection of service is very important. So what you do on a daily basis will begin to connect you into your higher self. And that's where mindfulness and being present helps you, because you now find out that you have energy towards certain things, what people call passion. We talk about energy, that thing you do consistently, that thing you desire to flow. Anytime you see me, you're seeing me with notes and pen, and I'm reading something. Why? I love to have an informed mind to develop myself. That's the energy we're talking about.
Okay, I think this is the last question.
Thank you.
No, there's one more. Let's respond to this.
Okay, vision and purpose. Which one comes first in discovering self? You cannot have a vision when you don't have a purpose. What's the vision all about? Vision is where I'm going.
Yes.
Purpose is that I know where I am. I know who I am now. So how do I go to that place? That my ideal place. The ideal person is the vision. But you have to understand that ideal man. You are not there, but you understand it now. The vision is the path I'm going to follow to actualize this ideal person. Yes. So
thank you very much, Mr. Patrick.
Purpose comes before vision.
the manner and speed with which you used to respond to this thing, sometimes I just wonder. You know, when the questions come, in my mind, I'm trying to decipher it. But boom, you're there already. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. I know you all still have beautiful, amazing questions you want to ask. Exactly. Do that on our social media handles. So I stand out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. so I stand out. Drop your questions, and the mentor is always there, ready to respond to you. At this point and at this juncture, we will introduce you to the book of the month. Mr. Patrick, the mentor, has a way of letting us understand practically all these things he talks about by referring us and recommending some books for us to read. Books written by other leaders and mentors who have applied these things he's teaching us, and they've blossomed, they've excelled, they've become great role models. So like last month, the book of the month was Everyone Communicates, Few Connects. That was by John C. Maxwell. But this month, which we are right now, the book of the month is The Power of Focus. The Power of Focus. It took 3 great leaders to come together to put this episode together. The likes of Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, and Les Hewitt. The Power of Focus. It's going to make you understand how to channel your energy and focus on your task, focus on your goals, focus on your strengths. Because you see, most of us realize that, we have strengths and weaknesses, and we try to focus on our weakness and build our weakness, whereas we're living our strength, which is our stronghold. In this book, trust me, by the time you read this book, you will never remain the same. I've just read few lines, and I'm very intrigued and interested in it. It will make you understand how to hit greatness in your business, personal, and financial life. Mr. Patrick, why exactly did you choose this book? Because I'm curious. I'm already enjoying it, but I just want to know why you chose this book.
Because focus, what you focus expands in you. Your distraction, you are not establishing yourself, is as a result of many voices. In the air, there are many voices. None of all them are without significance. How you focus and the intensity you focus will determine how you expand. And so that's why we want to bring people into consciousness and light to begin to focus on yourself. And as you focus on yourself, you begin to find that expression. You begin to find that your finances are expanding, that your health, you're taking care of your health, that you're taking care of your of finances and your family. Some of us were distracted in our family lives. Some of us were distracted in our finance life. Some of us were distracted in our career life. And so that's the problem. So when we begin to live at a place of focus, let me put some level about it. You know that reward was as a result of focus.
Oh, yes.
There's a guy I admire so much. He didn't allow anybody to distract him. He focused. They called him all kinds of names. In 10 years, he was a world leader. And because of the book, the mom criticized him. Everybody was saying that this is a waste. This project is, got away. You can't. The wife criticized him, but the same wife that criticized him in his place of focus was the same person who was celebrating all over the world. Why? He chose to focus for 10 years and came up with a sterling, unparalleled book that shook the entire world. That's why it's good to have a power focus. Most of the time, we are so distracted because of the demand and the exchanges of life, dragging us from here, phone, emails, work, life, and all that. That's why it's always good once in a while, do a retreat, reflect on yourself, and see how well you're doing. That's why we chose that power focus.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you.
Once in a while, take a step back, have a sober reflection, and do a reality check. Those are the words of the mentor himself. At this point, at this juncture, I trust we've come to the end of today's episode of StandOut with Patrick Uduma. Keep a date with us, same time, on same channel, first Saturday of next month. I remain your host, Otto Cannon. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the month. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Otto. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.